Now, I couldn't quite decide on what the C word should be, so I think tonight let's make the C word cup of tea to reflect on what's been a very difficult two fixtures for us. Defeats to Cambridge United and Crawley Town have left the Stags with a little bit of a bitter taste in the mouth, and fans wondering, are the wheels starting to come off a little bit? Is this squad spent? Has it gone as far as it can go? Is it time for some change or changes? Is it time for the chequebook to come out? Or is it just plain old confidence? That's all we're going to be talking about tonight to try and figure out what the C word is and how indeed we can go forward and reach our objective of safety as we approach another tough fixture in the trip to Shrewsbury on Saturday. As always, come and have your say on your team in the comments. This is the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because win, lose or draw, Mansfield will always matter. Hello, good evening and welcome to the Mansfield Matters Podcast. It's the show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Thanks so much for joining us on this Wednesday evening, just 24 hours after the Stags were beaten at home by Crawley Town. Their fourth consecutive defeat, their third consecutive defeat in the league, and it was not a pleasant night indeed. So joining me to try and figure out what the C word is, well, I've got a whole panel of C's. First and foremost, let's say hello and good evening to the man whose name is Clive Parkin. Good evening, Clive.
Hi, Craig. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, some people say that having one Craig on this podcast is enough, but I say that's absolutely ridiculous. So tonight, we've got two. Let's say hello to Fathead, a.k.a. Craig. How are you doing, Craig?
Yeah, evening, Craig. I'm doing all right, thank you.
Very, very good. Thanks so much for joining us on the show tonight. As always, at home, if you want to have your say on your team, then you can do so in the live feed comments. We'd love to hear from you this evening. Clive, before we came live, you said you had a little bit of a rant brewing. Do you want to save that for a little bit later on, or do you want to go full steam ahead? It's entirely up to you.
It may not be a rant by the time I get around to saying it. I mean, the thing is, I've shared the frustration that everybody else, I'm sure, who was watching tonight has, which is, where's the team that was playing so well gone? You know, and the most upsetting thing about this, I really don't mind us losing games in this league because we're never going to win them all anyway. And if a team deserves to win, that's fine. As long as we get enough to keep us in this league, I'm happy with that. What really upsets me is when they scored, it was like the whole ground was just waiting for it to happen. It came as absolutely no surprise to anybody, probably to their fans, not to ours. You could just see it coming. And we adopted a strategy in the second half, which was clearly all about putting bodies between them and the goal. And they weren't doing it well enough. It's fire bucket football. We don't need that. I'd rather us lost 4-0 and made a game of it.
Very, very true. We're going to delve into that a little bit more later on, Craig, because like I said in the intro there, it has been a frustrating few days for the Stags. None more so than the first 50 seconds against Cambridge, where Danny Andrew, the former Stags loanee, launched a long throw in towards the area. We didn't deal with it, and all of a sudden the league's bottom side of 1-0 up. Flash forward 10 minutes, we're 2-0 down, courtesy via penalty, thanks to a very clumsy challenge from Alfie Kilgore. And then we think, oh no, we'll be all right in the second half. We'll turn it around. And then just minutes into the second half, we concede a third. And in truth, at Cambridge alone, let's isolate that one first, Craig, it could well have been 6 or 7 by half time to the home side.
Yeah, absolutely, Craig. It was it wasn't the best performance, was it, against Cambridge? I think, you spoke on the podcast before, I think it was the week before, and, we've got a run of games that I think, arguably we're expecting to win. Playing bottom of the league, good opportunity, and it's exactly the opposite. We stumbled against Cambridge. They could have had an absolute bag full. And then, we thought we'd turn it around last night. And again, arguably, I think my opinion is we played worse last night. I thought we'd come out all guns blazing, firing on all cylinders, and I think if we were still playing now, we still wouldn't score. So So yeah, not a good previous 2 games.
We look absolutely shot of confidence, Clive. We'll come on to that in a little bit more, but you were one of the unfortunate many to make the journey to Cambridge. I may or may not have turned it off with a couple of minutes to go on Saturday lunchtime. I had better things to do. I decided to take the dog for a walk. I decided that picking up dog poo was more of an attractive proposition than watching Mansfield Town play.
I'd go further. I think eating dog poo is more of a better proposition than watching Mansfield at the moment. Saturday was lovely. We had a great journey down. The roads were fantastic. It was really good. We had a relaxed journey. We got there early enough to go and have a wander around. We had something to eat in Tesco's, and it was great. And we met with some of their fans, and there was a bit of crack going on. It's lovely. And then we kicked off. I've never, ever felt so despondent because the nature of how we conceded. And like you said, everybody on the terrace where we were stood said, well, we're going to come out all guns blazing in the second half. And what Clough will have said to him is, whatever you do, concentrate from the start. Yeah. So I'm prepared to put it down to a bad day at the office. But I do think the game against Crawley was worse because we didn't have that spirited fight in the second half that we'd witnessed at Cambridge.
I'm going to perhaps be a little bit controversial here, Craig, and say that it's not just a bad day at the office anymore. It's starting to feel like there's not a toxic office, because I think that'd be wrong. You can still see that in the majority of games, the fight and the spirit is still there. But there's certainly a dark cloud which is looming over the top of the Stags camp at the minute. And if we're being brutally honest, which I think we like to be here on this podcast, had it not been for the run of games over Christmas and the positive results that we got there, we would be really struggling now. And I have to say it, looking forward ahead of our fixtures with the injuries and missing players we've got, coupled with the fact that we're very unlikely to delve into the transfer market, I'm worried about what lays ahead in the next 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, absolutely, Craig. I mean, I the title of this podcast was the C word. My C word is concerned. I don't think it's time to panic, but I'm concerned. I'm concerned for the whole team. I think we've lost confidence now. We just don't look like we're playing as a unit. And yeah, I'm looking at the fixtures now. The next 6, we've got a busy February, and going to Shrewsbury away without that confidence, that's going to be another difficult game. And we need to turn this around quickly because we don't want to go on a continuing losing run. And like I say, it's not time to panic yet. We've still got points in the bag, but losing a few more will start to turn the tide. And I think we just need to get another win and get the confidence back. But I'm worried around the goal scoring. We just, I don't know. We don't seem to be getting anywhere near the goal. Around the box, no one's taking any shots. We're trying to almost walk it into the goal, and something's got to change.
Something that does have to change, indeed.
I've got some C words I'd written down before we started, Craig.
Do I need the bleeper?
No, you don't.
Okay, because I was going to say, mind you, to be fair, Cam's not on, so I can't call him.
I'd written down crocs, cripples. We seem to have this thing again now. We've got a best part of 6 or 7 players who can't play, won't play, or unable to play due to sickness or physical impairment. These are supposed to be professional athletes, for goodness sake. And then I've got complacency. Well, when there's half your squad's not available, those that can play haven't anything to worry about. They don't have to fight for their place. Confidence, we've said that. This run of results can only lead to one thing. That's a lack of confidence going forward. Without confidence, whatever you're trying to do is harder. And then collapse. I've never seen such a collapse of defensive capability than we've witnessed in the last 2 games. At the beginning, this will make you smile. At the beginning of before the game started at Cambridge, when we got the team sheet out, we looked at the defensive lineup and I said, bloody hell, this has got to be the best defensive lineup in this league. On paper, it was. God bless, they played like ballerinas.
And as we've said a number of times, football is not played on paper, sadly. Let's delve into some of your comments. There are a lot of them coming in tonight, so apologies if I do miss them. I will try and go back and get to some of them as the show goes on. But one comment did sort of clock my attention, and that's this one from Ben, who says, worse. Is Clough on his way out and the squad know it? all short on contracts, and we've lost our motivation. Now, we've sort of alluded to this before on the podcast, Craig, but I do think it's a worthwhile talking point because there is some logic to it. And I think when we talk about Clough being on his way out, we're not talking about Clough being sacked, because that will never happen on this earth. Even if we were bottom of the league and, playing, struggling to field an 11 of fully fit players every week and unable to score, I don't think Clough would get sacked, because there's faith in him from the Radfords. But Clough has said on numerous occasions that he's looking to retire, and his wife is urging him to retire as well. He doesn't need to stay employed. He's made his money. He could happily retire and have a good life ahead of him now. And we all know that his contract's up at the end of the season. So now we're in the January transfer window. We've got a squad of players who's pretty much, I'd say, 75-80% of them are out of contract in the summer. A lot of that percentage are all of a certain age as well, which means we need to move them on anyway. Has Clough got it in him to bring, if he did sign another deal, to bring in an overhaul of squad? And I think we're talking a minimum of 8 to 10 players here, to get them to gel like he has done over the last 3 years and see the project forward? Or is he just ticking over to the end of the season where he walks away and goes, I'm done, I've kept you in the league, I've enjoyed my time here, it's now time for somebody else? Because if it's the latter, that is not an attractive proposition for any of the players at the minute, because they'll be looking at that going, my contract's up at the end of the season, I've got no idea who's going to be in charge next year, I've been here for 3 or 4 years, maybe it's time for a new challenge. And the motivation just drops through the floor. Getting the Clough thing sorted has to be a priority, surely, one way or the other, so we can move on.
Yeah, absolutely, Craig. I think Clough is still going to give us 100%. I think he's determined. He's still got the energy to do the best he can. For this season, I think it will all depend on how this season goes. I think you're right. I don't think we'll be sacking Clough. I think he's done too much for the club, and he can still do more. But I think if the season doesn't play out and we finish just above relegation, I think Clough might reflect and go, maybe have I taken this team, this club, as far as I can? And that may happen. I hope it doesn't, but it may happen. But I think all will be revealed, as we head towards the end of the season. I think if we finish mid-table or maybe have a run and, head towards the playoffs, dare I say it, then, Clough might have a bit more, idea of, will I want to stay another season? Who knows? But I think it will all depend how the season plays out.
It's an interesting one, Clive, isn't it? Because, like we sort of alluded to in there, why would you want to continue playing? Has he got it in him? That's the thing for me. It's not whether or not he wants to continue because he knows he's got a safety net in this job. It's, has he got it in him to rebuild a squad and push forward for another 3 years? Because if he stays, it can't just be for another season. It will have to be for at least another 2 for the next part of the project.
It's difficult to know. I mean, the man's got his own levels of motivation, whatever they are. He keeps his cards close to his chest. I'm with you. I don't think he needs the job. I think this season started so well. He was actually very buoyant, and the monkey that he carried around for the last 3 years was off his back when we got promoted. But now I've looked at his body language, and he looks a little bit crestfallen, and that is bound to percolate down into the team. That's what worries me. Both him and Andy Garner look shell-shocked. And you look to your 2 leaders in this case to be keeping people going. I also think he's got a Mardy on with the 2 central defenders, Kilgore and Flint, after Cambridge, because sadly we lost Dave to an unexpected injury. He's the last player we can afford to lose, but we have done, and it's probably going to be several weeks before he's playable again. And he got 2 central defenders on the bench. Now, we didn't need to put them both on because I don't think they work well together. But you'd naturally expect him to bring a trained, skilled, professional defender on to replace one that you've just lost. But no, he brings another striker and puts him in the defence. What does that say to Kilgore? I know Flint's not happy about the whole thing. I mean, Flint's, I guess, is his last season anyway. But it just seems to me he's done it for the sake of it. And the logic isn't there. And then to throw Flint up as a makeshift centre forward, it's just the same mistake that we've made in previous situations where we've panicked and thrown him up. And the real problem is, and it doesn't take anybody on Mansfield Matters to share this with the Stags fans, is we haven't got enough strikers. We'll come on to midfield in a bit, but you cannot say I'm happy with my squad that is dependent on the recovery of Oates.
Yeah,
and the longevity of an already injured Gregory.
Yeah.
And the naivety of Lee Evans. Sorry. He's a sweaty comic, isn't he? Craig Wiles, you'll get to know that I'm useless remembering people's names and stuff. But I mean, the lad's fast-tracked himself to where he is now, and he's been found out a little bit. I mean, his work rate's phenomenal, but he just lacks that guile. And unfortunately, when you've said that, who else have you got left? You can put Lucas Aikins up there, but he's not the striker we're looking for. He has a different set of skill sets. Anyway, that's where we are. And I cannot understand how Clough can say, I'm happy with the squad we've got. It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense at all. I guess the thing is, what he's trying to do is going, I'm happy with what I've got and I'll work with what I've got because I don't want to spend the chairman's money because I might not be here in 6 months' time. For me, I will always love the man. He will walk away an absolute club legend. And, we have been used to 3 seasons of more highs than lows. And we're on a bit of a bad streak at the minute. And it will get better. I know it will get better. But what I have to look at is that whole confidence thing, that whole long-term thing. And what it feels like at the minute is like you've been in a relationship for 10, 12 years. You've had your fun. You've flirted, you've gone on great dates, you've made great memories together in the early days, you've moved in a house together, you've done it in every room, every little bit of the carpet, you've gone on great romantic holidays, you've then settled down and had a couple of kids, you might have got married, and 12 years down the line, you're lying in bed next to him, and they're breathing, and half your brain is going, do I rub you back and make you feel better and comfort you? Or do I give you a slap round the head and give you a little push on the shoulder and wake you up because you're doing my absolute head in? It feels like we're just going through the motions for no point whatsoever. And both parties are too scared to go, we need to bring this to a conclusion and move forward. Let's stay friends. Let's stay close. But this together ain't working. It's just going to drive us to a complete different level. The analogy is daft, Craig. I know it's daft, but it makes perfect sense because we've had the highs, we've had the joy, and now we're reaching this point where we're thinking, does this get any better?
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that, Craig. I think
of you married people know I'm fucking spot on.
You're probably right, Craig. But I mean, look, we're not football managers, but we can see what's missing. We've got the transfer window that's about to close. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. We were just talking about a striker. We're probably talking more than a striker now. What we need to bring into this team, but we absolutely, Clive mentioned it already, that we've got to get someone in who's going to score the goals. Yes, Gregory on his day is really good, but we can't rely on him. We've got Will Evans. I like Will. He's great. His work rate's absolutely superb, but he's lost his confidence up front. He looks a bit untidy on the ball, and I know he'll come good, but we need somebody now. And not bringing someone into the team, I think going back to your what you said earlier, Craig. What does that tell? What does that show? What's Clough thinking? Because we don't have enough with what we've got.
We really don't have enough what we've got. And again, like Mark just said there, where's the new lad, Matthew Craig? He's out injured at the minute. It's the curse of Mansfield. Time you join Mansfield and you get injured. Everyone's saying it, about Oates as well. In the few minutes that Oates has played, says Paul, I always wince when he falls over. Another injury will finish his career. The same, I think, can sometimes be said for Elliot Hewitt, God bless him, because he is still, in my opinion, Clive, struggling to get over the injury which he had a couple of seasons ago. He's come in, he's playing pretty much every game, but it is clear that he has, in my opinion, not got 90 minutes in the legs. He struggles to go Tuesday, Saturday. And yet, on Tuesday night, he ended up playing in 3 different positions. He started at right wing back, then he went to right side centre back in the 5, then we went to the 4 and he went to right back. He struggled to get up and down the pitch, and I do fear that one injury will finish him as well. And we've got no cover in that area other than Lucas Akins or Jordan Bowery, which, to the best of their ability, it works in League Two. But in League One, when Will Swan is getting the better of you, and this is not a slight on him whatsoever, it's a bit of an alarming thing. We're getting caught out, and we can't afford...
It's not just Will Swan, though, is it, Craig?
No.
Opposing teams have had us, they scout like we do, and they've seen our strengths and weaknesses, and it's pretty apparent that everybody plays down our left flank because they know that we're operating with a wing back that isn't up to the task, because you can be one or the other, and unfortunately we're asking Hewitt, who isn't as on the form he once was for reasons we all understand, to do that task. I think if you're going to play him, you play him as a regular right back. And he can do the job competently. But to ask him to then be a strike force up the right wing at the same time and to get back in a hurry when they're inevitably quicker players take us to task is asking too much. And you're right, we haven't got adequate cover there. But we've got what we've got. We are where we are. And Clough's got very few options at the moment. So I do have some sympathy with the man. And I just think that Hewitt at least is committed. You know, the lad is absolutely up for everything. His form isn't as good as it was. We have players who are not, in my opinion, investing. And I'll name one, and that's Bacchus. He's a talented player. He's a ball smith. Give him a bit of grass to play, and I'm sure he'll do a great job. You don't get that in this league. And he isn't durable enough. He hasn't got the physicality to deal with the situation. And I don't think he's worth his place. And I have nothing against the lad personally, but I don't think he's bothered about Mansfield Town. I think he sees us as a stepping stone towards the next part of his footballing career. Wayne, sorry, he's not for us. I just think that's about ability. You could argue he's not been given the pitch time to demonstrate his ability. And surely, under the present circumstances, he should get that.
I have to say, in the last two games with Ben Wayne, he's been given, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and he has actually looked sharp. He won us the penalty at Cambridge, and he nearly scored when he came on against Crawley. But for whatever reason, he won't give him the game time. He'd rather throw Flint up there, or even put McLaughlin up there, didn't he, for a game ahead of him? He's only on the bench because Reece Oates isn't fit.
Yeah. Well, we can't put ourselves in Clough's head. I mean, he obviously has a vision of what he wants to happen. He has the faith in these players. He sees them on a daily basis. We only see them when they play or don't. And I think, to a certain extent, we just say, well, we are fans and we're not experts. But we have opinions, and most of us have got a similar opinion at the moment. We've got a squad which is upside down, and it's not the first time we've had this situation. In fact, it's commented. If you go to any of the League One football forums, you'll find everybody's commenting on Mansfield's upside down team again. And I also think when Clough's not feeling very buoyant, he calls people out, and he called Pim out, didn't he, after the game. Pim got nothing to apologise for. It was a mistake that led to their goal, but to be quite honest, there were four defenders who were guilty of allowing that to develop, and he'd saved us 3 or 4 times prior to that. So, and the sponsors named him man of the match.
I thought he was. He kept us.
Well, he was the best of a bad bunch, in fairness, but and I think Clough shouldn't do that. I've always said that he shouldn't call players out like that. It's mardiness.
Totally agree.
And I think it makes him look less of a professional manager than we all think he is. We all know he is, actually.
What really annoyed me, Craig, was the post-match interview last night where he said we should have got a point out of the game. We got exactly what we deserved last night, and that is sweet FA.
Absolutely.
We should have lost by more than 1 goal.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we mentioned it earlier. We were all sat there. We saw it coming all the way through the game. It was only a matter of time before they were going to score. And I thought it was going to be Will Swan that was going to score. And I must say that when we moved Will Swan on, and I know he'd had some good games, I thought it was right for him to move on, and we bring some more talent in. Last night, I just thought, what, I wish we had him back. I wish we had him back.
Well, even Gale would have made an improvement last night.
Absolutely.
And Clough is so confident in the strikers he's got on his books that he's let Gale go out again. Now, presumably there are reasons around that, but the thing is, we are devoid of somebody with capability to be a striker. And he
But
doesn't have anybody coming up the team up the tube from the academy. Obviously, there's nobody that he has enough confidence in at the moment to do that. And under the circumstances, he's not going to take a chance with a kid when we're fighting to avoid being in the drop zone. But it just brings us back to the question: why not get somebody in, either a recruit or on loan? There's got to be players out there. Other clubs around us in this league have been recruiting strikers in the last 2 weeks. Strikers who are right for this level of football.
Lots of comments coming in saying it's not the strikers that's the issue, it's the midfield and the service. And I do agree to an extent, but we do need some instinctive players. We cannot, like Clive says, rely on a half-injured Lee Gregory, a crocked Rhys Oates, who is one bad tackle or one bit of movement away from a career ending. We have to be a little bit more proactive than that. We can't stumble through in that way. I'm going to go back through some comments. I'm going to go right to the top. So apologies if I skip over some, because we might have already talked about this, but please do keep them coming in and have your say on your team. If you listen to the audio version of this and you want to have your say, come and join us on a live show. You can find out when we're going to be live by following us on all things social media. Simon kicked us off this evening and says, just like that 5-match losing run earlier, if these 2 poor performances were in scattered there, there wouldn't be this knee-jerk reaction. This squad has proved in the previous 24 matches we can compete at this level, but we need to get back to doing what we were doing well before Saturday, and the positive results will come. Keep the faith. Now, I'm not going to completely disagree with that comment, Craig, but I am going to sort of change. I am going to analyse it a little bit, because I don't think this is a knee-jerk reaction. I think we've seen this coming for a while. And like I said earlier, if we didn't have those positive results that we had over the Christmas period, we'd be in a much worse position now. We're in a false position in the league because we had that great start. And that great start built from momentum. So when Simon alludes to the previous 24 matches, he's not wrong. But really, it's probably the first 10 or 12 of those, which is just a carry on from last season. And we've built up a bit of momentum. We got ahead of steam, but then we got found out and we struggled to score. We went 3 games without scoring a goal. We registered, I think, 1 shot on target last night. Last season, we were getting 20, 30, 40 shots in a game. What has happened to that? Because we've got the same group of players. We've got the same dynamic in the squad, the same way of playing. So something has shifted. And I think you look at that now, I don't think this is a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's what it is we've just reached the peak. We are like a worn book or an elastic band that has been stretched so far, and it's now snapped, and it's not serving the purpose that it once was. It does the job, but not to the same ability that it was before. And we need to be really careful, because 2 or 3 more poor results and poor performances like we have, because I think there have been poor performances. Yeah, we got 2 goals back against Cambridge, but we were still poor. We should have lost 6 or 7-0. Just the fact that they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. If we carry on performing like that, the confidence drops, and all of a sudden, points drop as well. Other teams pick up, and we're in the relegation battle, which we didn't want to be in. So it's not a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's a sensible reaction of saying something needs to change and something needs to be done in terms of looking towards our long-term future.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, Craig, isn't it? Because, we've said at the start of the season, on our day, we're a match for any team in this league, and I still believe that. But we've lost our mojo now, haven't we? We had a really good start, and we got a bit overexcited, but we brought ourselves back down to earth with that losing run. We then won a few, and now we're back in this position. I think we're in a new league now, aren't we? League 2 last season, now League 1, and we're getting found out. It's a different level of football, and if we don't perform like we've seen in the last 2 games, we're gonna suffer. I think clubs have worked us out. I think they've found us out in terms of some of how we play, how we set up our key players, and we just need to do something different. We're not creative enough. We're not creating chances. But I still maintain, I don't think it's time to panic. But we need to get something back. We need to get our mojo back. We need to get our confidence back. And we need to get it back quickly. And I don't know what the answer is, Craig. Is it? I mean, I feel sorry for Ben Waine. He needs a game. it might be this Saturday, but give him an opportunity. Go out, create a name for yourself. Let's give him the opportunity, because we're struggling with options, aren't we? Struggling with options in terms of what are we going to do? So, but we need to turn this around quickly.
Keep your comments coming in. Simon says, hate to say it, we looked so old and slow last night. Ooh, football, embarrassing. Flint up top. Have some of the players had their heads turned and disrupted the camp? I have to say, Clive, there might be a little bit of degree. It might be me looking at this and reading the situation entirely wrong. But like you alluded to earlier, Dave went down injured. Flint and Kilgore got up straight away, ran down the touchline, did the warm-ups. Flint looked back over his shoulder and saw Lucas Akins take his top off and the substitute ball go up with 7 on. What's that all about? That's one way to kill a bit of confidence. I've got the logic a little bit, but again, there's something in that. And I think when you get unhappy players, that resonates into the dressing room a little bit.
It's also the time of the year when the players' agents are rattling them their cages a bit as well, if they can earn a few bob in January. And that happens every year. If we were in a much more buoyant position than we are mentally, I don't think it would matter a great deal. But because we are a little bit depressed, I think it does. I also think that we've become completely dependent on Reid having a good game, and he's had some shockers recently, by his own standards, not just my observation. And therefore, we have no midfield. So it came as no surprise we were hoofing it up past midfield. We may as well not had a midfielder on. We may have just gone 6 at the back and 3 at the front or whatever the options were. But it's a complete departure from previous seasons where we've had one of the most successful and creative midfield setups. And we're all clamouring for George Maris to come on, but George is not fit yet. He's still carrying a knock. We know that Boateng can be a great player on his day. We just don't have many of those days. He was still better than what, he was one of the better players when he did come on, because he's got a degree of skill and dexterity and got a good left foot. But and Clough's touched on this before, on those rare occasions we've made progress and got to a point where we cross into an attacking position, the quality of our crosses is dreadful. We rarely beat the first man.
It's a lack of instinct at times as well, because the Clough mantra, Craig, is to get the ball into the 6-yard box and get a shot in there. When we have numerous opportunities sometimes from the edge of the box to try and hit one low in towards the bottom of the corner and test the keeper. The goalkeeper last night for Crawley may as well have brought a deck chair and a book.
Craig, 100%. I said it earlier, didn't I? If we were still playing now, we wouldn't have scored. But I'm with Clive on this one. That we're trying to walk the ball into the goal, aren't we? We get the ball on the outside of the box. We start passing it around. We try and go down one of the flanks. We try and cross it in, and actually, no one's thinking about having a pot shot on the edge of the box. All the other teams are shooting from around the edge of the area, and we're not doing that. We're not creating the chance, not creating the space, and that's where we're losing the opportunity. And if we don't sort that out, we're going to see more and more performances like that. I know we've got work to do in the midfield, and a lot of people are putting the comments around the midfield, and I totally agree. We've got to get a grip on midfield. Last night was just woeful. All the passing was woeful. It was just a real bad day at the office. But we've got to turn this around, haven't we? And I don't know what Clough's doing behind the scenes, but we've really got to get that confidence back very quickly and get a win on Saturday. But I'm sure we're all thinking, I can't see where the win's coming from, which is a really sad position to be in.
I watched Clough's interview earlier today. I watched it all the way through. I'm not sure he's at the same game as the rest of us.
No.
His view of the game is completely different. He's probably a bit of politic in there. He's trying to be, positive speak for the team and all the rest of it. But to be honest, it lacked honesty, and that's something you don't normally accuse Clough of.
Yeah, it did lack a little bit of clarity, a little bit of lack honesty, and it just felt a little bit false and forced. I didn't enjoy watching that interview at all. last night, and I wouldn't have liked to have been in that position doing it either, to be fair. Paul says, I think the older players who were brilliant last season and did a great job at finding that League One is a bridge too far for them. I think Stephen Quinn's probably a shining example of that. He's got all the heart and all the soul, but unfortunately the time it takes his brain to connect with his legs at this level aren't really doing him any favours. And I think a lot of that actually is probably because he didn't start many games at the start of the season, and now he's being relied upon a lot more. And in the time between last season and that momentum and that adrenaline which came with it, age has sort of maybe caught up with him a little bit. Paul also says, guys, why isn't the academy yielding any fruit? I know we rant about this pretty much all the time, Clive, but this is the prime opportunity to do it. We are missing players. We're missing strikers. We've, supposedly got young, hungry talent in there. We talk about not bringing players in, and I can sort of understand why we don't, because of the whole registration thing. But academy players who are under the age of 21, do not have to be registered. So we've got absolutely nothing to lose. Fair enough. I wouldn't throw them in against the likes of, your Birminghams, your Wrexhams, your teams that like to come and dominate. But in this run of fixtures, it wouldn't hurt to put an academy player on the bench and give them, 30 minutes here, 15 minutes there, Clive, because otherwise, if we're not going to do it now, when we're struggling for injuries, what's the point of them? There's no pathway through to the first team. And I don't buy this nonsense of it takes 3 or 4 years to get the academy to the same level of where the first team's at. We've been there, we've done it. We've got one of the best academies in the country. We've got some good, hungry young players, but they're just not being shown the opportunity through the first team door. What have they got to do?
I don't know. We don't know
10 years to their age.
We don't know what level they're at, really. I mean, I could do with having half an hour with Steve Chettle for an honest opinion of what progress has been made. But the one thing that sticks in my mind is that we're in the cup game. We have 9 on the bench, and even under those circumstances, there wasn't a youngster. And some of the people on the bench were not fit to play. Now, so, what does it say to the aspiring player and his parents and if he's got one, his agent, when they are being disregarded under those circumstances? Again, I'll back away from this because I'm no professional on in terms of selecting good players from bad. But we have got an academy. If we're not going to get any fruit from the academy, we may as well chop the bloody tree down.
Yeah. I don't think you... Go on, Craig, go on.
But I was going to jump out. I was going to say, but this is Nigel again, isn't it? We've already said he doesn't want to play the younger players. He doesn't want to take a chance. We've talked about Ben Waine. And if you won't give Ben Waine or Ben Uncle Stephen's nephew, Ben Quinn, then what chance has the academy players got if we're not going to give our full-time professional players an opportunity? So it's really sad. But I'm sure we should have some players that are on the verge of coming through. That why not give them an opportunity? Why not just try them, bring them on 10 minutes? Let's see what they're like. It's it's just an opportunity we're missing. I think.
And that's how you make a profit from the academy as well, though, because by embedding 1 or 2 of them in the first team and developing them, that's how other clubs come in and go, actually, I like the look of that young talent. We'll put a bid in for him, and that's how we make money and how footballers make the careers. So it feels like we've put in all the work in place, but in the end, we're just not getting to that final product. Regarding our aging squad, says Simon, we needed them this season with their experience to help us in this league. Would we rather have been sat in the relegation zone all season moaning that we have no experience? But these players need to be moved on and thanked as well as we patiently build another squad to take us to the next level. That's what I genuinely thought we would do in this transfer window, Craig. But again, we're not going to do that if Clough's future is up in the air. For me, this whole situation just boils down to, are you staying or are you going? Because if you're going, then fine, let us know, and we'll look to build to the future, and we'll wish you farewell. Don't tease us and go, I might have decided at the end of the season. We need to know now. Clarity. Yeah. That's my C word. Clarity, Clough.
Absolutely, Craig. And we're not going to get those answers, are we? We're not going to get the answers from Nigel. I think, I'm trying to think positive that, his heart's still in it, his energy's still in it. I think we did see deflated Nigel with his interview yesterday, or sorry, last night. But I'm hoping he can turn this around. I must admit though, Craig, did I don't know if I've got this right, but was there something on social media around we were going to bring a lone person in, and that it all fell through? I mean, I didn't know any of this, or whether it was just I don't know,
Oh,
Chinese
it's the truth
whispers.
according to social media. It's absolutely faultless.
Yeah, absolutely, Clive. But I don't know what truth is in it. But yeah, I really now, Craig, I can't see us bringing anyone in now. I think that door's almost closed. So I think we'll end up with what we've got, and I think we need to.
It might surprise us yet. There's a couple of days left. He might surprise us yet.
You never know, Clive.
Just waiting to see what other options they've got. I don't know.
I think we've got until Monday, haven't we? I think it's a little bit longer this time around. I think it's the 3rd of Feb that it closes, so plenty of time. But
and I have to say that the fact we haven't reacted more quickly is testament to Truth's claim that he's happy with the squad. I just don't understand it myself. But we've covered that ground. I just think everything that can go wrong seems to be going wrong at the moment, in that players that have hitherto been reliable players have lost form. Players that have been, resilient to injury are getting injured. And some of the players who are part of this whirlwind of selection, because we don't play the same team twice, same squad twice successively. And the argument for that is rotating the squad to give them match time and time to recover. They belong to the future, and they might just see themselves as treading water until contract time comes along. And we know we've got some old players that have to be taken out. Sad as it is, we've got probably 5 players who we've got to say this is their last season. I'd like to think one of them would be looking to take on some form of management role within the club for continuity, which brings me to my point. The Radfords own this football club, and they run it with their family and friends and all the rest of it. And Clough runs the playing side with his family and friends and what have you. And it's a lovely, cosy environment. We've heard nothing from the Radfords for a while. Are they buying a new boat? I don't know. Maybe. We've got nothing, no update on the stand, which is, I'm pretty sure that something's happening, but it'd be nice to know. It all looks like the club has said, "Oh, let's just pull our belt tight and see what happens."
This is what I'm saying about it feeling like a stable relationship. It's just gone. We're just sitting there going, "What do you want for tea? Shall we have a chippy? What shall we watch on
back
telly?
on one of his
Emmerdale was on, innit? Let's watch that. Do something, man!"
And the other thing, of course, is we all know that when it comes to being interviewed by the club, Clough gets a fairly easy ride of it. I mean, the questions he gets asked rarely put him on the spot. And you've interviewed him, Craig, and you know what he can be like. If he doesn't like the question, he makes no bones about it. And I would imagine if you're employed by the club, you have to be very careful what you do ask him. But I don't know. We just seem to be a bit floppy and complacent this year. And as I said at the very start, if we finish 5 from bottom, I'm perfectly happy with that. Perfectly happy with that. Because all we want to do is survive this first year and then start to build again. We made a rod for our own back by being so good at the start of the season. And all of a sudden, people's expectations were wrongly placed. This is going to calm people down a little bit. We need, in my estimation, 3 wins and a couple of draws, and we're safe. So we shouldn't be panicking. But inevitably, when you got 4 on the spin like we've got, you do.
And when when you're saying we could, we need like 3 wins and a draw or whatever, and mathematically we should be pretty much there. But we need goal. We need to score a goal to be able to do that, and we just don't look like we're going to be able to do that. There's so much in there, and we're going to keep talking about it right after the break. Do not go anywhere. If you want to say anything about Mansfield Town, it can be getting something off your chest. It can be telling us who this guy is.
Dave's been the best one. DJ, best signing, best player of the season.
It can be a rant about the youth team. It can be anything that you want it to be, as long as it's Mansfield Town related. Get it in the comments and have your say on your team. We'll go through some more of them. Plus, we'll do podcast predictions, and I'll try and cheer you all up a little bit. What's that? What? You choose for once what's on telly. I can't be bothered. Make a decision, woman. All right, fair enough. We'll have a chippy. Welcome back to the Mansfield Matters podcast. The show, love you. The show for the fans, by the fans. Why? Because Mansfield always matters. Come and have your say on your team in the comments. Lots of you getting involved tonight. I've got a long one here from Ben. Let's delve straight into this one. What's going wrong? He says. 1. Midfield, huge gaps, leaving channels to run for pacey squads, and we lose the ball cheaply and fail to recover it well enough. Sorry to say, but Reeders looked awful on the ball and lacks the vision and foresight on his pass that's created so much for us earlier in this season. 2, wing backs, successful for us early in the season, but not getting the ball quick enough and not ranging forward far enough either. Very little in the way of crosses from Akins or Hewitt for the last few games. 3, strikers. Not pressing far enough forward as they are having to drop deep to pick up the ball, pick up the slack from midfield. 4, substitutions. Why do we never make any at half time? Left it too late at Cambridge and again last night. Reed should 100% have been off at half time in both games, giving someone else the opportunity to grow in the game rather than have 20 minutes to rescue it. 5, Flint up top. Just stop. We have the talent to turn this around, but we need to address the above or we'll flounder in the second half of the season. And do you know what? If that comment would have been at the very start of the show, Clive, we could have been sat on the sofa, cuddling up to our partners now, saying
rubbing her back, yeah.
Saying it's all right, darling, we're not going to split up. Because that sums it up, the situation up beautifully, doesn't it?
The milk tray for her, I know, yeah.
I know, yeah, we know how it is. Doghouse and all of that. That sums it up beautifully, Dave, doesn't it? The comment, not my analogy, because that's obviously
I think so.
A crocker.
I mean, Clough does exasperate at times, doesn't he? Because we can all see where he's going to go in terms of him to bring subs on, and it takes forever. One of the things he said in a recent interview was that one of his pet hates is subs not being ready when they're required. And yet the subs are ready. He sends them back when something on the pitch changes instead of being committed to it. They did at Cambridge. I can't remember what it was now. It was up and down like a bloody marionette. Pants down, pants up. It was crazy. I can't remember who it was now. It was Wayne, I think. But either way, you've got this. The game's incredibly simple, isn't it? And we don't have to make it more complicated than it needs to be. But where we go on Saturday at the whatever it is meadow, I don't know. I can't see where we're going to get a goal from. Can you?
It's disappointing. I think, is it a system change that's needed, Craig? Because I think, we've alluded to it. The 5 at the back, I think, does work for us at times. But what you need to make it work is you need an energetic midfield and be able to play through it and play through the lines quickly. We don't do that. We're far too timid in playing it across the back 5, trying to stretch the game and putting too much emphasis on the wing backs. We need the midfield players to sort of step up. And like whoever it was there said in that comment, the strikers aren't getting in the positions that they need to because they're having to drop deep to cover for the midfield. So for me, the times where we've looked most dangerous over the last 3 or 4 games when we've been up against it is actually when we've dropped out of that back 5 and gone to a 4-3-3. And I think now with Dave sadly on the treatment tray in the Rhys Oates injury tent or marquee at the training ground, we've got an opportunity to go to a back 4 again because, and this is I think going to answer a lot of questions. And I've said this many a time before. Certain players can only play in certain systems and only work well in certain systems. Aidan Flint, in my opinion, is still a good player and still has a lot to offer. Not up front. Emphasise that. I think he's still got a lot to offer for us, but I don't think he's got that to offer when we're playing a back with 3 centre-backs, a back 5, because he's more, for me, he's suited more to a back 4. And I don't think Kilgore suits in that back 5 either. He's a little bit too clumsy on the ball at times, and it doesn't quite work. So for me, if Dave's injured, we need to look at maybe going back to that back 4 and going with Flint and Kilgore, which was, of course, a solid partnership at the start of last season before obviously Kilgore got injured. Then you can maybe push Bailey Cargill across to left back to cover for Fraser Blake Tracy whilst he's injured, pushing McLaughlin into the midfield role, which then allows us the fluidity, if we need to drop back into that back 5.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Craig, isn't it? And I'm no expert with different formations and what's best, what's not. But I absolutely get what you're talking about a back four and around Kilgore and Flint. My only worry with both of them is Kilgore's still on a journey back to full fitness, and neither of them are really quick, and that's a worry. That any chasing back, they're not quick enough. But you touch on also the midfield and going forward. I don't know if it's just me, but I sit there and watch us play, and I look at the opposition, and they break far quicker than what we do. We pass it sideways back, and a bit. It's like we're playing chess, and they're playing a different game. But other teams, that what I see, they're so quick on the counter attack. They break really quickly. They move forward really quickly, and we don't seem to do that. So whatever formation we go, and it needs to suit the players. Absolutely, they play better in different formations, but we need a formation that helps us move forward at pace to create opportunity and chances, around their goal.
I don't think the diamond will work for us in League One, Clive. I think we've sort of tried that a little bit this season, and it's not paid off for
We
us.
haven't got the
because
quality
we're exposed.
midfielders to support Reed. That's why.
But
No.
if in a 4-3-3, if you look at Reed as your defensive midfielder in a role that he does well, Boateng on one side, Maris on the other, or Matthew Craig when he's fit, or Keanu Bacchus when he decides that he's available for the game. That could be a game changer for us, because I think that will also then bring the best out of the strike force, because you can put Lucas Akins on the right hand side of the forward three, Gregory in the middle, Evans on the left, and you've got good pace down either side, good attacking options, and we flood it. When we go to the diamond, the problem is still there. The gaps in the midfield are there, and we fill in.
Yeah, I think you're making a lot of sense. Have a word with Mr. Clough.
Hello, Nigel. Hello.
I mean, going back
Craig.
to Flint, for instance, I mean, Flint was immense last year. We did well because we had Flint last year. League Two, different to League One. He's great when he's standing there defending high balls coming at him. He's as good as anybody. His distribution after that isn't that good, but sometimes you don't need that. Depends who's alongside him. I don't think he and Cargill can work next to not Cargill. He and Kilgore can work next to each other. I just don't think it's a right chemistry between
Flint
the two.
needs pace next to him.
He does.
He'll go and win your header, but he won't get back.
Year, didn't he? And certainly, the two wing backs bring a bit of pace, but it's in the middle we're losing it.
Mm.
Dave's got pace, although it doesn't seem like he's got pace. If Dave's fit, he has to be central of the defence, in my opinion. And then you pick one of either Flint or Kilgore, whichever one's got the best form going forward. But at the moment, neither of them are fancied, are they?
If we could just sort the George Williams situation out, that would definitely atone for having A, pace, and B, cover for Dave.
Nobody knows what's happening there, though, do they? Well,
no, he got an elusive mention from Clough last night, though, didn't he, Craig, in his post-match?
Yeah, I think he did, but again, we don't know any of the backstory to this, do we? We know there was some sensitive friend family issues, and then it's all gone a little bit quiet, hasn't it? But absolutely, we forget about him, don't we? And actually, bringing him when he's ready and he's fit and he's able, he can play a role, certainly. But I think Saturday's going to be really interesting in terms of what that back four, back five looks like. Given Dave's now not going to be around. Is he going to put our two, Flint and Kilgore in the centre? Where's Bowery going to fit in? Where's Cargill going to fit in? Arguably, some kind of left back or left wing back. I just think it's going to be really interesting when we see the lineup on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I think just a quick mention on Bowery there, Clive. I might get slated by a few people for this, but I actually thought that the Cambridge game highlighted how good Jordan Bowery is in that back three. We missed him.
Yeah, he's as good as we've got, but he has got the odd mistake in him, and that the pace he misses when he gets turned is obvious. But that's again, he's at the end of his career where he's not got the pace he once had. But he's a good, reliable player. He owes us nothing as a player. I have a lot of time for him. Good old Bert.
Absolutely. Well, the thing behind all of this, Craig, though, is ultimately it's because we've had 3 seasons of being there or thereabouts. Last night, for the first time, there were boos at the full-time whistle. I heard a scattering of boos
Don't
at
agree with boos.
half-time at Cambridge as well. I don't agree with boos. We weren't good enough, but ultimately, in football, you cannot win every single week. You will go through journeys of ups and downs, and it's togetherness that will put us back on the straight and narrow. It's creating an atmosphere which will. Last night, the atmosphere was absolutely flat, and do you know what? I didn't even realise we had the drum in the stadium until the full-time whistle, where the drum was pelting out in by way of applause. Honestly, I take my hat off to the people that do the drumming and try and get an atmosphere going. But why did we wait until the end of the game last night? There was no atmosphere whatsoever. I could hear Alan Wilson's fart over the PA announcer, over the PA system last night. It's that
simple,
quiet.
Craig. At the end of the day, the fans need to be ignited, and the ignition is on the pitch.
I'm not blaming the fans at all. I know that, of course, the ignition comes from on the pitch, but it's a two-way street, and it's just a little bit like, come on, guys, come on, why it just felt flat even before we'd kicked a ball last night.
Yeah, it was flat, wasn't it? And the fans, it was flat, in terms of getting behind the team. But again, it starts with the teams, and there was nothing to shout about, nothing to cheer about. Just to go back to what you said as well, Craig, around the club and everything. I still think we're on a journey. We go back and we had some real bad times, haven't we? Around, certainly when the Radfords first came in, we've bought the ground back and everything else. And there's a lot to celebrate around Mansfield. But I think, we've had so many seasons, last few seasons of, some really good times, opportunity, nearly getting up in League Two, and then we eventually get over the line. And all this is a bit of a rough spell, isn't it? Where such a good start to the league, and we all thought, hey, I think we've cracked this, we've nailed it, and then we came back down to earth with a bang. We lost 5 on the trot, and then we won a few, and now we're going through a bad spot again. We're still good enough for this league. We don't need to panic yet. We've still got a decent gap between us and relegation. However, we do need to turn this around. We do need to get the confidence back, because we can't continue the losing spell. And my only worry is I look at the next 6 games. We've got a really busy February. We've got 6 games in February and one on the 1st of March. So arguably 7 in a really close proximity. And we know what we like with
that's the same for everybody, isn't it?
It is, Clive, but you say yourself about injuries and people going down too easy, and we've got some tough games coming up, so we've really just got to turn this around, and just break that cycle.
Yeah,
going back to the fans for a second. They've not lost the fans. We're still turning up in numbers. There were no tickets left for Shrewsbury by the end of the week, and I dare say when we go to Blackpool, we'll go mob-handed as well. The fans are commendable. All right, we've got a whole raft of new fans that don't know how to deal with disappointment the way that old farts like me do.
That was my point. Yeah,
and they are the ones that are probably going to get disillusioned, get very quiet, or maybe boo. Having said that, I don't agree with booing, but if you've paid your money, you're entitled to do what you want. And if that means that you want to boo your own team, sad as it is, it's your decision. But and I don't think booing helps under any circumstances. Boo the referee if you've got to boo anybody. Boo McLean, by all means. He's always worth a boo. But, we are where we are. We aren't in a mess, but we will be in a mess if we don't find a way out of this.
It's the manner of the losses and the opposition we play. Wickham is fair enough, but 6 points dropped is concerning, and in such a poor manner. Yeah, I agree with that from the gate. Keep your comments coming in. Have your say on your team. When will we turn it around? It doesn't get any easier, Craig, does it? Because like you mentioned there, we've got lots of fixtures coming thick and fast, starting with Shrewsbury, who, under Gareth Ainsworth, they've got confidence, they're feeling courageous, and they're well up to try and, get one over on the Stags, because they know they're fighting for their futures. And unfortunately, when you're a squad like ours who are low on confidence and with fractious players, etc., that's not the type of team you want to be playing.
Yeah, absolutely, and Gareth's got them playing well. They're on a high. It's going to be a tough place to go on Saturday. It's no different to Crawley, is it? Last night, they're in trouble, but their togetherness, and they put a performance in last night. I don't think they were great, but they made us look really, really poor, and we were poor. But you just look at the fixtures coming up. So Shrewsbury Saturday, then we've got Northampton at home, Leyton Orient, Blackpool, Lincoln, Wrexham. There's some really big games there. Now we shouldn't be afraid, but that's only when we've got the confidence and we're playing well. We're not playing well now. So, for me, Shrewsbury and Northampton, I think we need to take the opportunity and at least get 3 points from one of those two games to get the confidence back to, for heading into the final 4 games in February.
And the objective still hasn't changed. It's staying up. And even if we finish this season, we go on a terrible run and we finish, just outside the bottom 4, it's still job done. It's not about, the house of cards falling down around our ears. It's not about panicking or having a knee-jerk reaction. It's just saying it for what it is, Clive, which is we've taken this squad of players as far as we can take them. We're at a level above, where we were last season. We're not getting the investment. We're not bringing players in as it seems at the minute. And it's just more frustration than anything else because on our day, we can beat anybody, but it's a fickle game is football and the tide can turn so quickly because we lose 2 games against Shrewsbury and Northampton, 2 teams that are down there at the bottom of the end of the table. They've gained points in us. And all of a sudden, we're in a bit of a scrap, and we don't need that. We just need to stop the rot, get a clean sheet, get a draw, and hit the reset button.
We need a Harrogate 9-2. That's what we need. But we're not going to get that this year. I think it'll be a scrap. It'll be a scrap for the rest of the season, and it'll be the measure of us whether we can do it or not. We're giving ourselves all the chance we need. We're giving ourselves a really good start, and as I say, we're in a position now we don't need to win every game. In fact, what we really need now is plenty of 0 scores against us. That's what we need, some clean sheets. As Clough said on a number of occasions, if you can't win the game, try not to lose it. And that's what he was trying to do last night.
Yeah.
But we weren't good enough.
I'm going to take full responsibility for the Crawley game because I predicted a 6-0 win, and that was never going to happen, was it? So there you go. Right. Go on.
Sorry, go on. I was just going to say that the thing that worries me most about any business, and the football club is a business, is succession planning. There has to be succession planning for when inevitably Clough moves on a season-by-season basis. Clough and his brother and the other team, the other management team, have to have a succession plan. We should already have targets in line all the way through the season. So when the season ends, we're ready to go out with a checkbook if necessary, but certainly going out and acquiring players that can improve our squad. Now we don't get to know that. We have to trust that's taking place behind the scenes. And when you get a blank January, like we seem to be having at the moment, that trust is being stretched a little bit further than most people are comfortable with.
I've just had the light bulb moment for what the C word is. Communication. And Craig, play the podcast predictions jingle. Okay. Podcast predictions. So can you be the master or an embarrassing disaster? In this guessing game, there's a simple aim. It's outguess the rest and be the best. Win, lose or draw. Do you know the score? Who will be your hero to make sure you don't score 0? Yes, it may be fiction, but this is Podcast Predictions.
Podcast predictions.
Right, it's the end of January. The results are in. I'm going to post the full table on social media tomorrow, so make sure you head over to that to see where you are in at the table. First and foremost, though, let's do the Mansfield Matters Mini League. In 7th place with 10 points, it's our Nathan Edge. And then there's a jump up to 6th place with Cam Felton at 85. Jim Evans is finally over the 100-point mark. He's got 102 points to his name. And then there's a significant barrier between me and him. I'm in 4th with 178. In 3rd, it's Nick of Mansfield Town Churchvane with 197. And then way ahead in the 200 stakes, there are 2 points between Alan and Clive in the top 2. This 2-legged race at the moment, this 2-horse race. With 257, it's Clive Parkin. But with 259, it's the man who emptied my bin on Tuesday and put it back on my drive. It's Alan Wilson. He is currently leading the way in podcast predictions. Right.
Super Al.
Honorary shout-out time now. If I mention your name, you have not made it to the top 10, but thanks for playing. Phil, Frank Etherington, Matt Webb, Wonderwally 13, Dan B, Robbie MTFC, David C3, Tim Taylor, Kenny Warsop, Johnny Rotten, Lee Nichols, James Dixon, Liam Marriott, Steve Kemp, Michael Gillett, Steve Edwards, Jimmy F13, Batman, not that Batman, Stuart Morrell, Dave S, Wonderwally 68, Wonderwally 5, Andy Branson, Neil Dallison, Nathan Edge, Wonderwally 8, Tim Phillips, Joe Dolman, STGER Mansfield, Tank, Matt Green, not that one, Daniel Green, Tom Parry, Denny Sims, Charlie Rafferty, Jason Witham, Jay Clarkshausen, Ben Allen, The Gate, Gabby Avison, Archie, Sam Payman, Steve Yull, Kerry Crump, Nick Welsh, Cam Felton, Matt W, Ryan JC, Adam Crump, Limbo74, Wes, Chris Ellison, Jim Evans, Stacks Chat, Paul Broomhead, Simon Wilson, Roger King, Otley Staggs, Danny Warsop, Stephen Pound, Ashley Mutter, me, JS, David C, Kiwi Stag, Olivia Wilson, Ben Swain, Nick of Mansfield Town Shirts fame, Marie Wilson, Sarah Stronach, and Proud Stags. You are just outside the top 10. But what is that top 10, I hear you ask? Shall we find out? Let's. In at 10 with 218. It's Dan Bauer. On 227 in 9th, it's Keeley of Her Game 2. Just 1 point ahead, it's the reigning podcast predictions champion, it's Fathead. In at 7 with 229, it's Kathy Holmes.
Go, Kathy.
In at 6, it's Ian Brown with 234. And then, number 5, it's Will Pound with 243. Our Clive is in at 4 with 257. Alan Wilson just ahead of him in 3rd with 259. So it's between Steve Naden and Darren Wood. In 2nd place with 263 points so far this season, it's Steve Naden. Which means leading the way at the end of January is Darren Wood with 282. Well done to Darren. Time to get our prediction guesses on then for the trip to Shrewsbury. And Clive, you're up first.
A defeat. 2-0. Akins.
I am also going to go for a defeat, 3-1. And I'm going to go for Aaron Lewis. Craig, can you shed some positive light, please? Or are you going to go down the same route?
No. I'm gonna turn this into a bit of positivity. I think there'll be a bit of a shake-up, and I think 1-0 to the Stags and Maris.
Don't forget to put your podcast prediction in via the link in the description. You must do so no later than 1 hour before and 1 minute before kickoff on Saturday. I thought I got that in before the jingle finished then, but I didn't. Right, that's almost all we've got time for. Oh, no, it's not. Because, of course, we have... Well, it's been a bit of a disappointing one today. We've been a little bit frustrated and things like that, and I thought we needed a little bit of a pick-me-up. So, that one. Yes, it's the right one. Let's find out what the random game generator is going to throw up for us, shall we?
Content loaded. Selecting
Have we got time?
Game selected. Players stand by. Battle of the Seas.
So tonight has all been about the C words, and the panel this evening is full of C's. We've got Craig and we've got Clive, and we are going to do a little game called Battle of the Seas. It's going to be a head-to-head game where I have got a list of 10 former players, coaches, or managers who all have either a first name or a last name beginning with the letter C. Your job is quite simply to figure out who those people are. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to go head to head. So, Craig, as the guest this evening, you are going to be playing for everybody else on the podcast, whereas Clive is playing for his own points. So no pressure. And you also get to choose whether you go first or second. So we'll take it in alternate ways. So you've got 5 each to guess. So Craig, would you like to go first or second in the Battle of the Seas?
I'll go first.
Okay, well, here's the first one for you to figure out then. Can you figure out who Gailey Siders is? Gailey Siders. It's a former Stags player. I'll give you that bit of a clue. Can you figure out who it is?
Siders. No, I can't.
Okay, if you can't...
I can't.
Clive, I'm gonna throw it over. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put give you a timer of 30 seconds to figure it out. So Gailey Siders, if you know who that is, not 30. I don't want 30 minutes. What am I doing? Gailey Siders, if you know who that is.
Disley.
Is that your guess?
Yeah.
Clive,
Yeah.
I can tell you, you're absolutely spot on. So it's 1-0 to Clive, and it's Clive to guess. Lax Coop.
Paul Cox.
Lax Coop is absolutely spot on. He's 2-0 up, Craig. He's 2-0 up. Can you pull it back with Lactim John? Lactim John.
Lactim John. No.
I'm going to give you. You've got 30 more seconds to figure it out, starting now. So Lactim John. Clive stays quiet for a second. Lactim John, Craig, is the one to figure it out. You've got 20 seconds before I throw it over to Clive.
The pressure.
10 seconds.
Okay. It's not Colin Larkin.
Clive, it's coming over to you.
It's CJ Hamilton.
Oh.
It is indeed CJ Hamilton. Clive's 3-0 up. And Clive, it's you to play.
I hate
And it's this. Windsor Vandal. Windsor Vandal. And I'll give you 30 seconds to guess, starting in 3, 2, 1. 30 seconds starts now. So, Craig, it might come over to you. Windsor Vandal
Charlie Cocklegrub.
is incorrect. Craig, it's over to you to try and guess it.
Got it.
Too late, Clive. You got it wrong.
I've got David. It's not David someone, is it?
I'll give you 30 seconds, Craig, to see if you can get it. Windsor Vandal.
Windsor Vandal.
Clive's got it, but he won't get the point for it. 20 seconds, Craig. 20 seconds to figure out Windsor Vandal. This one's a club legend. There should be 3 letters in there, which is SIR, because technically he is a Sir. 10 seconds before I let Clive put you out your misery. 5, 4, 3, 2.
No, I'm not going to get
1.
it.
Clive,
I don't know.
you said you had it.
I was wrong.
Oh, it's Calvin Andrew is the answer to
Yeah,
that
I
one.
got it wrong. I got Dave stuck in my mind as well.
There you go. Next one is this one, which is Ragtime Watch. And I can tell you that this one is a current player. 30 seconds to guess who Ragtime Watch is before Craig gets the opportunity to steal. Starts
Isn't it Craig's question?
now. No, it's yours. Oh, no, it is Craig's question. Yeah, sorry.
Time watch.
I'll give you an extra 20 seconds.
Current
Current player.
This is awful. I should know this.
I'll give you a clue. It's not Christy Pym.
Yeah. Thanks, Clive. Yeah.
30 seconds
really
start
helpful.
now.
Oh. Why is it you always go blank when you're trying to? Oh.
Ragtime watch. You got 10 seconds before Clive gets to guess. 5, 4, 3,
Oh.
2, 1.
No, I can't get it. I can't get it.
Clive?
Tim Ratchett.
It's not. It's Matthew Craig is the answer.
See, we're no good at this.
Clive,
Nah.
your question, and you've got 1 minute starting now. Cyborg's Ray. Cyborg's Ray. Cyborg's Ray is the one for Clive. Craig, you might get the chance to steal in 30 seconds starting now. Cyborg's Ray. Coming up to your last 10 seconds.
I don't know.
Cyborg's Ray.
Pass it on.
Okay. Craig, I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue just to try and make it a bit more competitive. If I said the lesser spotted,
Is that a clue?
that is a clue.
Maybe
Part of, the
worse.
part of the current coaching staff.
Oh.
Assistant manager.
Yes, he is indeed.
Oh. I've gone blank.
Clive's now got it, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't claim it because I've pulled out.
No.
Come on,
Go on,
buzz out.
Cla-
Tell him, Craig.
Go on.
Gary Crosby is the answer to
Oh, of
that
course
one.
it
The
is.
lesser spotted
yeah.
Gary Crosby. Let's find out who this one is.
Yeah.
It's Craig, it's your question, and you've got a minute starting from now. Kill Ronica. Kill Ronica. Someone has said this, I think, in the comments earlier on.
Is it mine?
It's yours, yeah.
Colin Larkin.
Yeah, there we go. Colin Larkin is correct. So Clive's got 3, Craig's got 1, and there are 3 left.
Oh, is it carrying on?
3 left, and this time round, it's going to be the first person to shout out the correct answer. You're going to have 1 minute on each, and it's going to start in 5 seconds. Get ready for this. We've got 3 left. First person to shout it out will win the point. Here we go. Raccoon gland. Raccoon gland. This is the number 1. This
Gland.
This name is between the sticks. Or was between the sticks. 30 seconds for either of you to shout it out.
Oh!
Go on, Craig.
No, it's
Go on.
not.
Back yourself.
I thought it was Alan. It's not Alan.
No, it's not.
Oh.
We don't know. Move on.
It's Conrad Logan.
Oh, of course
Conrad
it is.
Logan.
Of course
Last
it is.
2. Yen Dice is shirt. Yen Dice is shirt. I'm going to give you some clues about this one. The offside flag means nothing to this man. We could do with him because we're lacking in his position.
Dick Shitney.
Yen Dice's shirt.
Yen Dice's shirt.
If you were a fan when Billy Dearden was manager the first time round, you'll have remembered this man. Scored an infamous goal at Notts County, which was way offside, but it still counted anyway. Later went on to play for Kettering Town and scored against us in the conference days.
Can't remember.
No, I can't remember.
The answer
We'll know the name. Go on.
is Eyston Christie.
Eyston Christie. Yep.
I'd have never got that.
And just for fun for the last one, Candy Q. Candy Q, it literally says it on screen. The answer is literally right in front of you. Move the C, move the K, and the answer's there. Candy Q.
Cook.
Andy Cook is the correct answer. Well done, Clive. Clive gets 4 points, and there ends the game. Thank you so much for playing the Battle of the Seas. Clive gets a point on the board. See, Clive, you're happy now because you've got a point on the board. So there you go.
I'm never happy with your quiz.
No, you're not, but there you go. There it is. Right, let's...
Thanks, Craig, for my points.
No problem.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's pull it back to the land of here and now then. The title of today's episode, Craig, was The C Word. We've banded many C words about this evening, but as we wrap it up, what is the one C word which we need to focus on going forwards for the Stags as we head to a tough game with Shrewsbury on Saturday?
So for me, confidence is the C word for me, and until we get the confidence back, I don't think we're going to see any change to this this dreadful spell that we're seeing. But I will stay positive. I think we will turn it around. I think we'll turn it around Saturday. I don't think we'll score loads of goals, but I think we'll turn it around and just scrape a win. And I think that'll be enough to start turning the tide a little bit and getting the points back on the board.
The gate in the comments, Clive, has gone for consistency. Craig went for confidence. What are you going to go for?
Courage.
I like it.
A bit more bravery on the pitch from one or two players.
Absolutely.
I can't disagree. Stand up and be counted, be together, and just focus on the end goal, really, because we will get there in the end. And do you know what? It doesn't matter, win, lose or draw. We're always going to stick behind the boys, but we have to get going again. For me, I think it's confidence. I think it's perhaps some changes as well, and just seeing how we go forward. And maybe even, if the Radfords are watching, consider the C word being checkbook. My thanks to Craig. My thanks to Clive. I pressed the wrong button there, Craig. Sorry. My thanks to Craig and my thanks to Clive for joining us this evening on the Mansfield Matters podcast. That is all we've got time for this week. So many C words have been bandied about, but maybe there's one which we've overlooked entirely tonight over the last 90 minutes, and that is Clough. Clough has got us to this point. Clough is the man who is entrusted to manage the team and the man who I'm sure will bring us out of this slump. If we can find a little bit of confidence and a little bit of courage along the way, maybe with a few changes. My thanks to the C's, Clive and Craig, for joining us on the Mansfield Matters podcast tonight, and to you guys at home for watching and for listening. Don't forget, if you want to play along with podcast predictions, you can do so. The link that you need is in the description, and you must submit your guesses no later than 1 hour and 1 minute before kickoff on Saturday afternoon, and we will update the February fixture list for you tomorrow. So from 12 noon tomorrow, you'll be able to predict for all of February. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Good night, and keep the faith and believe in Clough.